Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how Nintendo just released the Switch 2 edition of the definitive edition of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Finally, it is here. I have been waiting for this for some time. For many years, we've all been waiting for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and it finally came out last year as the last Nintendo Switch 1 title before the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. But because the Nintendo Switch 2 was about to come out, a lot of us waited to play Xenoblade Chronicles X thinking there would be an enhancement. For me, I had to wait because my Switch 1 was broken. And so the Switch 2 came out, and yet a lot of us, myself included, still did not play Xenoblade Chronicles X. Why? Because we saw a data mine for a 60 FPS mode in Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. So we had a hope that there would be a Switch 2 edition or a free enhancement of this game at some point or another, given that we had seen other Switch 2 editions and free enhancements, and this one just came out. It was the most relevant, it made the most sense, yet Nintendo did not announce it until today. Here it is, the Switch 2 edition of the Definitive Edition. And this is kind of a big deal, and for a lot of different reasons. The enhancements, what it does to the game, what it implies about other Switch 2 editions or enhancements for other Xenoblade Chronicles games, and I think at least one more is coming this year, perhaps, we'll see. We'll talk about that. But also there are some implications about a Direct as well, and so there's a few different talking points surrounding this release, and I want to get into it all today. Now, before going forward, let me point out I have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers, so if you find yourself enjoying my videos, I would very much appreciate your support, subscribing if you haven't already. So let's just talk about this enhancement first. So it's now out today. You can buy the upgrade pack if you already have the game for $5, or you can buy the whole thing if you haven't bought it before for $65. They're just adding the extra $5 on top of it on the eShop. It's all available through the eShop digitally, but there will be a physical version that's coming out April 16th, the same day as Tomodachi Life. Now, what this $5 offers is basically two things. The game now runs up to 4K and up to 60 frames per second. And I think that wording is actually really interesting because that suggests that the resolution and frame rate will vary. But I already recorded some gameplay, I was playing it, and I gotta tell you, it looks sharp, it looks really good. They already made some nice improvements to this game for the Switch 1 version, but now seeing it running up to 4K and up to 60 frames per second, it feels really smooth, really fluid, really sharp, and this feels like more of a proper definitive edition. I think Monolith Soft really cooked with the first definitive edition for Xenoblade Chronicles 1. That was a huge leap. That was almost a remake. We were debating if it was a full-on remake. They did some really great things for the game, not just visually, but a lot of quality of life enhancements, new content. It was fantastic. And the leap was significant. Doing a definitive edition for a game on Wii U for Switch, you were never going to see that much of a leap, but they did what they could. But now with this Switch 2 enhancement, that leap is a bit more sizable. Still not as big as the original, but it's a lot more to appreciate here. And it just feels great. I am excited to play this game. I finally have something to play on my Switch 2 this year that's from Nintendo. I haven't really been into playing Mario Tennis. I'm not excited for Tomodachi Life, it's just not for me. I might pick up Pokopia, but that's a whole other conversation. Point is, so far this year, Nintendo hasn't really announced much to get me excited for the console, but this is a start. The Xenoblade series is one of my favorite series from Nintendo. It's incredible. And it's been so many years since I played through Xenoblade Chronicles X. Getting back into this, it feels really fresh, especially with all the changes and enhancements. So now, finally, I'm going to play this, and I'm going to enjoy it on my Switch 2. Just running around Mira, jumping around, seeing the beautiful colors, the lighting, the vast environments, the huge monsters, the characters, the city, it feels good. It feels right. I'm excited about this. Now, here's a quick little side-by-side. I'm just sharing a small clip from Nintendo Life's video. The entire comparison will be linked in the description below, but here you can see that yes, Xenoblade Chronicles X on Switch 2 is sharper, it is smoother, it's less soft, you can see more detail. It's not like a vast, huge, enormous difference, but there is a difference here you can see with this comparison. But the release of this enhancement today has stirred up many questions. What does this mean about a Direct? What does this mean about future Switch 2 editions for the Xenoblade Chronicles series? let's get into that. So when I first saw the notification for this announcement, at first I thought this might be like the final nail in the coffin for a direct to happen soon, but once I actually clicked in and saw the details, not so much. I thought the announcement was that this was coming out April 16th, but that was just for the physical version. And what that tells me is that Nintendo's not treating this like a normal Switch 2 edition. And there's still a need to announce Switch 2 games for April and beyond. Now, with the physical version of Xenoblade Chronicles X and also Tomodachi Life in April, it does have me thinking, is that it for April? But they both come out on the same day, so I do think that leaves some room for another release from Nintendo in the month of April. This is just a physical version for an enhancement that is now out today of something that came out last year that is an enhanced port for a game that came out in 2015. I do think we need to put that into perspective here. I still think technically there is room for a release in April from Nintendo. Now, I'm not saying there will be, I'm just saying there could be. And so if there is anything else from Nintendo that's coming out in April for Switch 2, that is an announcement we're waiting for. Now, I'm not sure there is, but I definitely think there's something coming in May, probably Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. So when we get that release date, I think that's going to be telling. Are we going to get that release date just through social media? If so, then I think we do have to wait until summertime for a bigger direct, or maybe that's just going to be announced in a bigger direct sometime between now and May. Now, interestingly, friend of the channel Attack the Backlog, who has been consistently getting reliable information about directs, who has a 100% track record so far, by the way, still, they just said today, before June, there is another direct. So ATB is hearing that there is going to be a direct before the summertime, which, right now we're wondering if there will be or not. So hopefully this proves to be true, but that is something. Now, on the note of something, ATB had also said they had heard that something else is supposed to come after the partner. He has not clarified on what that something else is. He has clarified, though, that this Switch 2 edition for Xenoblade Chronicles X is not the something else. So the something else is something else. We'll see what that is, I assume, at one point or another. So that is interesting. But what's even more interesting to me is what this implies about other Switch 2 editions. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the first $5 Switch 2 edition. And what this shows is that Nintendo is very willing to be super flexible with how they handle their Switch 2 editions. We've seen some free updates. We've seen now this $5 stuff. We've seen the $10 stuff with Breath and Tears, although they were free if you have Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack. And then there are the $20 Switch 2 editions that are not only visual performance enhancements, but include new content, effectively an expansion or DLC. So we have seen many variations of the different Switch 2 editions. This is another one. But this might be how Nintendo handles all the different Switch 2 editions for the Xenoblade Chronicles games. Because, you see, it would be weird to reintroduce Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and even Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition as Switch 2 editions, and then add in new content. In other words, they would be $20 Switch 2 editions or $70 games if you were buying the whole thing. Because why would they be adding expanded content to these games when they've already gotten their expanded content? Xenoblade Chronicles 1 has Future Connected, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has Torn of the Golden Country, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has Future Redeemed. Now, maybe they can re-release these games as Switch 2 editions with a DLC included, and maybe that means a higher price. This is Nintendo, so that's probably what they would do. Or just have you buy the DLC separately so they don't have to raise the price, but you would still have to buy the DLC. They wouldn't be including it for free. So I just think it's interesting that Xenoblade Chronicles X is just a $5 upgrade. I feel like this is suggesting that when we do eventually get the other Switch 2 editions, if they come, they would just be $5, because why would you be including new content? And if all they need to do is just kind of improve the resolution and the frame rate, then yeah, $5 makes sense. So I am expecting to see Switch 2 editions for the other Xenoblade Chronicles games eventually. Not immediately, eventually. But there has been some smoke for an enhancement for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. There have been the whispers for a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition, not just a Switch 2 edition. And so this is interesting, because now with Xenoblade Chronicles X, we've seen that they can make a Definitive Edition also a Switch 2 edition. We weren't sure if they would brand things in this way, but they did. So they could also do the same for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition. Now, we've seen with the definitive editions, the first two so far, that they have come out 10 years after the original release. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out in 2017. If this is to be a pattern, that would mean we wouldn't see this until 2027, but that is not what the whispers are suggesting. We did recently see that there is this voice actress for Cosmos in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Well, she updated her page for something coming out this year. So what does that mean? That means maybe something is happening this year, and there is not Cosmos in Xenoblade Chronicles X, so I do not think it's that. I believe this would be suggesting some type of new voice lines, which is also interesting, at least to me, because I was just talking about how I wouldn't be expecting any kind of new content in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with a Switch 2 edition, but maybe there could be. Maybe it would be something simple, maybe they'd just be reworking some voice lines here. Maybe if it's actually a definitive edition, it would include some extra new stuff. There is still that rumor of a direct to happen in February or March that would have the reveal of 3D Mario and what is next from Monolith Soft. A lot of people saying the rumor is fake because the direct hasn't happened in February yet, but last I checked, we're still in February, and the rumor is saying February or March, so I really don't understand why people are saying that. I think there's a lot of misinformation going around right now. That said, still a rumor, and as time goes on, I am growing more and more skeptical. Either way though, there is some smoke for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition. It's not just the Cosmos voice actor thing, but last year we did see a clip that seemed to show different footage from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I know some people say it's just a higher brightness, but I've checked it. It's not just higher brightness. That doesn't 100% mean there will be a Switch 2 edition, but clearly Nintendo is doing different enhancements for a lot of their Switch 1 titles. It's not really that crazy to think there's going to be another, especially with this voice actor leak thing here, and also the whispers of a definitive edition of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. What's to come? We shall see, but at the very least, we have a Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Switch 2 edition to play now, and that's exciting. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.